The only thing we did new, which was something which I very much championed, and in fact I went over to and negotiated this, was the Lord of the Rings. Because the Lord of the Rings, I mean, you know, growing up as a kid, the Lord of the Rings was enormous. I mean, I read it as a teenager. I love Lord of the Rings. You can see it in Warhammer. You can see it in D&D, actually. You can see it in so many things. It's so very influential. And the opportunity to make models for the Lord of the Rings film, and the opportunity to make that game was too damn good to miss. And I didn't want anyone else to do it. For once, I wouldn't have minded if another designer had done it, but I wanted Games Workshop to do it. So I got together with a friend at Games Workshop called Andy Jones. He's still there, great guy. And at the time, he was kind of responsible for sort of business development and licensing. And he and I both, kind of over a cup of coffee, kind of went, do you think, well, we said we want to do this Lord of the Rings thing. And no one else in the business had showed any interest in it. In fact, there was quite a lot of hostility. Both from the bottom, from the guys on the shop floor, because it wasn't Games Workshop.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to The Weekender. I'm, of course, joined by Warren and Ben. Warren, we just had a look. Hello.
Hello, Ben.
You're feeling frisky. Warren, we just had a look at a trailer from the Miniature Wargaming movie. So what was in that?
Yep, these guys are going back to Kickstarter, 26th of June. So we're gonna be getting some exclusive kind of extra clips and stuff for them. So for over the next few weeks on The Weekender, there's these little clips of people from within the gaming industry talking about interesting things. Now, apparently, this is all additional stuff that isn't even going into the movie.
All right.
And some of it is very interesting, like that one you've just watched, where we've got Priestley talking about basically whenever it looked like there was a possibility of getting the Lord of the Rings license.
Yeah.
They had to have it. And Rick himself, you can see it in his eyes. We had to have it.
Yeah.
I didn't care whether I designed it or somebody else within Workshop designed it, but Games Workshop, we had to have it.
Well, I honestly think between Rick, Alessio, and the Perry twins, they got the best out of that deal because they got to go on set and be dead Rohirrans.
Oh, it was a great move for Games Workshop because if you consider it at the time, right? I'm trying to think back to how the landscape kind of lay back then, and there wasn't a massive amount of competition really in the marketplace for Games Workshop.
Yeah, but
so it was a very sensible move capturing Lord of the Rings, because had it been caught by someone else who had the I suppose the resources to do something with that, there could well have been a
second major player at the time.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is, would they have had the awareness to know just how peak and trough the IP was going to be? Okay, because it is in history now, but we know that the Workshop themselves didn't quite predict that coming. Have been very, 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 very careful and steady ever since. But I just wonder, had somebody else picked up that IP, would that have switched on for them? That it was going to be like a fast burning candle, just there, burn brightly, and then start to fade just at the moment that the movies fade. Now, I'm saying that just at the moment the movies fade, there is still a thriving Lord of the Rings community out there, but that's not the same thing as a growing marketplace for it. So. And he's paused. Anyway, so stay tuned. Tomorrow we have a great one. We have a really good one at the start of the XLBS about Chris Nichols from Macrocosm. You will love it. I was laughing my head off at it.
Nice one.
And then over the next few weeks, we hope to have some more, just to give you some snippets of what's coming up. And then be sure to stay tuned for a future weekend. We're going to get the guys behind the movie onto the show to tell us about what they're doing, where they're at, what this next round of Kickstarter funding is all about.
Yeah.
So yeah, it should be good. And if you enjoy your designer interviews, be sure to head on over to beastofwar.com, sign up as a backstager, because we have a whole host of designer interviews.
Yeah.
Which
Designer
is
Studio is what
it's
you
the
called
designer studio. It's very laid back, and it's very much about their life in gaming. So if you're interested in what makes a lot of these people tick, come on over to Beast of War and check them out. I believe we have a prize this week.
We do. I have an interview with some of the guys. If I can quickly find it here, because my brain is basically melted this week from the amount of stuff we've been doing. I have the guys from Nomad Games, and we're going to be talking about Talisman, the Horus Heresy, the video game.
Yes.
Right? But the guys have been very kind and given us 4 Steam keys to give away. So you can win by commenting on this video on Beast of War, YouTube, or Facebook.
There we go. So get your comments in, and you could be walking off with a Steam key.
Yep.
Right. Updates.
Yes.
Ben, give us some updates. What's going on? What do we need to let people know about?
Yeah, sure. So, Dawn and Gianna over in the US are going to be running a big Battle of Hoth game at Draxtar Games in their local area in Batavia, Illinois. Yep. So they're going to be. There's a huge come and play day there, and they're going to be taking Battle of Hoth along for people to play during the day and get involved in.
What dates? What dates is that on, Ben?
So this is from June the 18th to June the 19th. So on both days they'll be hosting the demo there. If you want to go and check it out.
Awesome. Also, a call out if you're in the US and either you have a gaming store or know of a gaming store who might like to have Hoth for a weekend or something like that. Do get in touch with us. Use the contact us form up in beastofwar.com and let us know, and we'll pass that on to Dawn and Gianna, because Hoth is over there now, so we're quite happy for it to weave its way around and let people enjoy it. Other things is last night,
Yes.
Quelle Affaire was broadcast.
Yeah.
Not going to say anything because some people may not have seen it yet.
It's a hell of a battle, though.
It's an amazing battle. Okay, so firstly, apologies that it's nearly 2.5 hours long. This is Waterloo, baby. We had to do it right. Yeah. 2 hours and 17 minutes, I believe it was in total. And that was even after the procrastinating was cut out. 2 key moments. Well, a lot of key moments. Procrastination moments of, oh, what will I do? Oh, what will I do? Were cut out. And then the moment, and I'm gutted about this, the moment where I actually channeled Napoleon himself. So there was a moment during the game when it came upon me. I felt like Derek Acora. It was like, Mary loves Dick! Mary loves Dick! I was having that moment, but it was Napoleon, and I could feel him in me. I could honestly feel Bonaparte in me, and I arose. And then I started to march around, and I could just feel it, And then obviously it had an immense outcome on the game. It had all been caught on camera too. It was there as living evidence of paranormal activity taking place within me. And then Justin lost it.
Apologies, I hang my head in shame.
Do you know what will happen? It will turn up sometime. It'll turn up sometime in the future, and then they'll post it up. But it was an epic moment, and it was I was going to use it as an hour-long lecture here on the Weekender of how to channel generals to allow you to win your war games. I thought I had a brand new strategic advantage that I could have shared with you all, but unfortunately all the quivering and all, it's all gone. You're not going to see it.
Well, I will say Lance from the studio did a fantastic job of photoshopping us onto the 2 generals.
Yes.
Yeah, that does look amazing.
That will be becoming my profile picture very shortly.
Yes, if you haven't seen them, go and check them out. Everybody in the office here is talking about we're having a whip round to get them printed on canvas and get them framed.
Really?
And stick them up. So,
really?
Yeah. So anyway, Quelle Affaire, I've got to say, it's been a long time coming, this game. We've been really looking forward to it. It is well worth a watch. It's funny. It's intense. It's everything that a great battle has. And yeah, it has all the elements to make a great battle. Again, apologies that it's long, because as I'd said last week, it took nearly as long as the Battle of Waterloo itself.
Yeah.
But the best games are like that. And we didn't want to piece it out. We didn't want to two-part it. We just wanted to get it out there and let you enjoy it. Right. You guys aren't actually here right now.
No. This is magic right now.
This is hologram, Justin,
Yes.
and hologram Ben. Where are you now at this moment?
We are across just outside of Manchester in Stockport for Lock and Load Outpost UK, because tomorrow morning, Sunday morning, the 12th, Warmachine Mark III is landing. I can't wait.
This is going to be immense.
And myself and Ben are going to be live blogging the entire event.
Yes,
Yeah.
It's going to be fantastic. So we'll get to catch up with everybody again.
So it's Lock and Load. It's at the Northwest Gaming Centre, Element Games. Okay. Today the 11th and tomorrow the 12th. So if you're around, head on up. They've got things like Iron Arena, Masters, Steamroller, Hardcore, Speed Painting, Conversion Corner, Golden Thrall.
Yeah, that's their painting competition.
Yeah. So if you've even the slightest interest in Warmachine Hordes, go on up there and get your scratch itched.
Yeah.
Properly.
It's scratch, you mean?
Itch scratched. Yes.
Scratch itch.
Yeah. Go. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway. All right. Let's take a break.
Aye.
Okay, and then we're gonna talk about. I'll do the jingle. What the hell happened this week?
Anime cyberpunk style meets skirmish combat in Infinity. Experience 8 high-tech factions and fight to control the human sphere at the Infinity Hub on beastsofwar.com. Become a general of mighty armies at the Kings of War Hub. Take command of elves, dwarves, and orcs in this game of masked fantasy combat on beastsofwar.com.
Okay, before you hit the news,
Okay.
I have a public thank you to make. Okay, to Recon63. Okay, he's a backstager and a Beast of War community member in Australia, and he must love me. He must love me because you know what? I love him because he keeps sending us Anzac Biscuits. All right, and they come in the most beautiful tins. Where do you get a load of these? 2 of them are now empty, and I will say I only ate one of them. I don't know what happened to the other one. So check out these, okay?
Wait, that's Australian style hats. I thought that was Leafs whenever I first looked at it.
No, they're hats.
That's really cool.
They're hats. And look at this one here.
Oh, that's really nice.
Isn't that amazing?
That's absolutely beautiful, especially with that embossing on it.
Yeah, that's Gallipoli.
Gallipoli.
Or Gallipoli. And this is the Kokoda Trail. Look at that one.
Those
Isn't
are
that
absolutely
fabulous?
Spectacular. They're really nice.
So I just want to say a massive thank you to him for sending it over. And
He sent you a letter.
he sent us a letter, of course. Okay, so he says, to Justin and the Beast of War, my sincere and abject apologies for the tardy lateness of the Anzac Biscuits. He says, if I had sent them on time, I don't think Warren would have fit into his suit for the big day. You timed it perfectly. He's sent some other stuff in there, okay? Yeah. And he sent some CNC workshop stuff that I know that you're going to be showing off. Do you want to bring some of it up? Justin's going to be showing it off in some vlogs and things like that coming up.
Now, I don't have the favourite bit that he sent me, but I'll be showing it off in an unboxing. So some of the stuff is just really nice little laser cut guard towers and stuff. Yeah. So we can actually get some nice stuff put together.
Look at that.
That's cool, isn't it?
I'm really looking forward to seeing this stuff go together.
This I might try and use in some of our Dead Zone stuff.
Yeah.
Just that nice heavy duty piping and stuff. But it's all really cool stuff.
Yeah. He's also sent an industrial pipe set specifically so Lloyd can use some of his toilet rolls that he's been hoarding. He has reminded me that his missus has said that I'm not allowed any more than 2 biscuits a day. So it's I'm
going to be honest here. It's not you that they have to worry about. It's Lloyd and John. They have been munching and munching and munching through these.
I have been well behaved. I've actually been very well behaved. in saying that, I did eat almost an entire tin to myself the day I found them when he wasn't here.
Yeah.
But since then, I've been very, very good, and I haven't went into it. I haven't went into it at all. However, I love the tins. I just think that the tins are such beautiful, beautiful things. And you guys have all been talking about your hobby rooms as of recently.
Yes.
Lloyd is kind of like his hobby attic, and you have your hobby room. And there's loads of people.
I have my hobby home.
Yeah, people are talking about their hobby rooms and the forums and stuff like that. I actually went in and did a wee bit of repainting to Studio One.
A wee bit. Warren, I've been out there. You have redone it as sort of a palatial gaming room, your Zen space.
Well, I thought what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get Studio One so as I can do some live Google Hangouts and stuff like that. I don't have to be in here to do it.
Yeah.
I can nip out there and do it. But I thought, when you're sitting in there, because it was all painted black from a studio perspective, it was a fairly heavy place. You were sitting in there, and it felt like it was encroaching on you. So I took out the air gun, and I thought, right, I'm gonna repaint it. So I picked some like a British racing green and a big deep burgundy for a feature wall. So I was just thinking, what would Nero Wolf do?
Well, actually, he would do what you did next, which was grabbing a copper spray can and hitting every surface you could.
Well, I didn't hit every surface. I just was aging some stuff and just trying to make it. I just thought, I might be able to make it look kind of nice. But I'm gonna nab these tins because I have a couple of wee shelves, and I just want to put these wee tins on it because I just think they look absolutely awesome. Right, Recon 60 Thief, thank you for those. Your Anzac Biscuits are definitely being enjoyed. And it doesn't end with these 3 tins. There's also a big cardboard box sitting somewhere.
Of refills.
With
I've
a ton of
basically
refills.
put them out of the way so we can have a few still sitting around for guests.
Right, news. Ben,
Yes.
Justin, what are we kicking off with this week?
Ben, if you'd like to take us away with it.
Yeah, sure. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is the fact that there's going to be some there is now a new 2nd edition rulebook for Wolsung that you can go and pick up, which is very, very cool indeed. Yeah, so this is going to be a fantastic new sort of take on the game. They've fixed a couple of things, tweaked some bits and pieces in here and there with the mechanics and stuff. One of the big things, obviously, is that they're going to be including 3 new heroes for each of the original clubs, which is fantastic. Some other cool things in there, like they've refined a little bit of the sort of before the game starts checklist, so there's a bit there to sort of tweak and things. New bidding mechanics and things like that. Pre-measuring is now officially allowed and encouraged. So yeah, there's some really interesting new things coming up for this. Yeah, really good.
Now, Justin, we have a copy of the book.
Yes.
Yeah. You've had a chance to have a quick flick through it.
Yeah.
Now, other than that, we have a mini-series. The new series of Wolsung Stratagems is out. We're on episode 2 of that.
Yep.
And it's all about the 2nd edition rules, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we're running off what at the time was the almost finalized playtest rules.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing has changed since that, so we've got it spot on. But the key things that Lukash and the guys wanted to do with this was they wanted to improve the language used in it so it was very clean, very clear. And then if I quickly flick through here, there is one place in particular where I see vast, vast improvement. So you see things like this, where they're laying out how stuff works.
Yeah.
In the previous edition rulebook, this was maybe slightly confusing. But now they've went for a smaller text font, everything's clearly lined out and clearly defined, this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this.
Yeah.
So it's a far, far easier proposition to work through this new version of the rulebook.
Yeah.
And then we're seeing some nice big bits of art and artwork showing up in through it as well. So honestly, I'm really impressed with how clean this book is now and how much better and easier it is to actually figure out what's going on. If you look at here, showing off the funds cost. So for those of you that don't know, in Wolsung, whenever you start your game, you come to the table, right? You've chosen your 2 heroes.
Yeah.
Each of those heroes has a funds cost on the top corner of their card. That tells you how many henchmen you can buy from that.
Yeah.
But what I love is, it's only whenever you come to the table, I've seen your heroes, you've seen mine, we now go away and start building the rest of our game. We start putting in the henchmen and stuff to build on from there. So that gives it a really different flavor of a mechanic instead of just going, okay, I've spent hours and hours at home building the ultimate list. You know, you can turn up and go, oh, well, that's different. I need to deal with that, and actually tailor your stuff to really have a good fight every
So
time.
you're almost building your gangs on the fly then, is that it?
Well, you're building your henchmen on the fly, but you've already got your heroes. And your heroes, they dictate your henchmen to a certain degree, but you can kind of go something out of left field just to surprise someone at the last minute.
Yeah.
So people will have a flavour of how you're going to play, but they're not going to know exactly how you're going to play. So it leaves that fog of war there, which I really love.
Okay. Mini-series wise, I think you have some screens of it there.
Oh, yeah. We have an entire segment of the website dedicated to the mini-series.
So what topics have you covered so far, Justin?
Well, looking here, we've got the Wolsung stratagems, drive-by shootings with vehicles. This is one of the funnest things you can do. Basically, you can load that up with the skillet, who are my halfling mafia.
Yeah.
Have them actually do a drive-by. So you have one guy driving, he can't shoot. Everybody else, however, who's sitting in the back in the passenger seat can just spray people with Tommy guns on the way past and just blast up the board, because those things are insanely quick.
Yeah.
We've got some of the older ones that you and Lukash did as well, which are still absolutely valid tactics, because this is a rules cleanup, not rules change. So even these are still well worthwhile. And then we have all our backstage videos as well, showing some dirty tricks that you can play on your opponents.
Yeah. You also have the battle report that we did.
Ah, yes, which was a lot of fun. So this was you and me playing, I believe it was Skilla versus Ashen Oak, I believe.
Yes, Ashen Oak.
And we had a lot of fun with this. These were actually some Wolsung miniatures that I actually took home and painted myself.
Yeah.
Which I was really, really happy with. And then I believe these were done by Lukash for us, weren't they?
Yep.
But I mean, it was, whenever we played this game, it was such a fun game, and we gave it a really nice narrative scenario behind it. So we had our golem, our ancient war golem, which had been captured by the skillet and turned into a more useful piece of machinery.
Yes.
Piece of farming equipment.
A whiskey still.
Totally legitimate business right
Yep.
there. But the narrative behind it was really great, because we were able to inject so much fun and flavour into it because of the rule system.
Well, two other interesting pieces of content that are on the way for that is that we have another battle report already in the can.
Of course.
For that, where we're taking Lance.
Yeah.
One of the new folk in the studio.
Yeah.
And it's his first real go at a war game, isn't it?
I tell you this,
in that sense.
the miniatures he's using are the first miniatures he's ever painted for a war game, and they're actually really nice.
Other than that, we have a great Parts to Painted series coming up.
Yeah.
Where the golem, John has undertaken the task of painting it, and we were kind of getting vibes of old steam engines. So stay tuned for that. Right, the rule book is available now, Ben. Yeah. So anybody that's interested in their Wolsung, head on over to Micro Art Studio and pick up a copy. Yeah.
Yeah, over in their web store right now. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Right. Next up, we have some Dark Age news, some new releases from Dark Age. Do you want to bring them up?
Yep. So what we have is Lynette, Master Herder of the Dersh. So if you remember the demo game that we played, Warren, I was playing the Salt Flat Nomads, which is the Dersh tribe. I had a herder. This is now a character herder with some special abilities, and she has some sand jackals along with her.
Oh, they are nice.
They're very cool, aren't they?
Yeah.
And then we've got some very cool stats as well here. So if I actually get Ben away here, you can see the beautiful artwork as well. I'm loving the style that they now have for Dark Age.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sculpting has come on leaps and bounds for these guys, as we talked about in some of the videos we did during the Dark Age week. And I think this is like the tip top of some of the stuff they've been doing lately. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, on that front, more content on the way. Kicking off not next week, but the week after, I believe, we have the first episode of another new mini-series called Dawn of the Dark Age.
Yes, which I've been looking forward to getting out since I did Dark Age week with the guys.
This is a lot of fun. So if you're looking to learn some more about Dark Age and get into some of the tactics and characters and stuff like that, that is prime watching.
Yeah.
Right. Ben, what's next?
Cool. So the next thing is some terrain releases from Games Workshop. They have gone to the world of Warhammer 40,000, and they've brought out this armored container set, which also comes with some crates and barrels and stuff. Yeah, really good stuff, all in plastic.
Yeah, let's see a picture of that.
It's interesting.
I like the containers. I dare I say it, I'm not a fan of the bolters.
I don't think they're a good idea either. Yeah.
Do you know what though? There's a very easy thing. There's a very easy option for that. Don't stick them on. You know, it's like but does it come? Scroll back up, Justin. Do we see everything that's in the actual set?
Yeah.
So you get 3 containers.
Yeah.
Yep.
A load of barrels and a load of boxes.
Yes. Yeah.
That's quite good. Is it priced well?
Yeah, it's this comes in at around £30. So if you're getting this from a sort of local gaming store as well, you can probably get it for 25, 27, something like that. So in keeping with most of the stuff that Games Workshop do, their terrain is very much on the sort of good end of their pricing structure.
Yeah.
So,
Show us it again there, Justin. I want to bring up the actual crates themselves to get a look at them.
So the cargo containers or the crates?
Cargo containers.
You see, I kind of like this idea because you have the landing pads and stuff that you get from Games Workshop's terrain range.
Mm-hmm.
Having some of these to dress in and around it, you could really do yourself up a nice big spaceport.
The thing about it is, when I was first looking at them, I was looking at them and I was thinking to myself, I don't really think that there's much of a shortage of containers out there, you know. But then the more I looked at them, the more I thought, they really do look 40k, and sometimes I do wonder sometimes whenever we put together a table or whatever for 40k, and you put something down on it and you look at it and you go, yeah, but does it actually look 40k?
Yeah, does it feel like that?
But
that gothic sci-fi
these
feel?
really do. They really do fit in. I kind of like them. As I'd said, the Stormbolters kind of threw me a little bit, but
Again, it's an optional piece.
Yeah, you can't complain about options that you don't have to put on. Really,
Exactly.
Can you?
Exactly.
I would keep the Stormbolters and I'd put them on something else, or I would try and break down. I'd try to maybe a conversion piece on one of these where I actually kind of have it all kind of cut open, that it's almost like a defense line. Okay. And then kind of have the Stormbolters either sticking out over the top or sticking out through slits, fire slits.
You're wanting to do the scrapped container defense line type thing.
Yes. Yeah, I think that would be really cool because it'd be great to build them like that. But there's a lot of juicy components there you could make a really nice defense line out of. Okie dokie. Right. We also have some news from Myth. So on the Myth front, they have the Dark Frontier sneak peek. Ben, what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, sure. So this is going to be one of their new expansions for the Myth game. And this one sees the heroes striving to head out into the wilderness to defend Farron Rock, which is this really fantastic city that is besieged by the Shadow and all of the forces of darkness. And one of the really cool things about this is it actually comes with a little tiny miniature that represents the city. And as it gets besieged and it starts to wear down and people destroy parts of it and you fail potentially in quests, you remove parts of the city to show that it's falling into disrepair and things like that. So I think this could be a really fantastic new narrative angle to the whole Myth thing and telling a bit more of the story, some cool characters.
Yeah.
Very, very cool looking.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing where that goes. And then I was going to say finally, but it's not actually finally because we've got something really cool to talk about in a minute. But we also have Dungeon Saga. Now, 2 big pieces of news for Dungeon Saga. From what I can gather, all of Dungeon Saga is now back in stock.
Yes, it is.
So if you've been waiting for it or trying to pick up bits and pieces you weren't able to get, now's your time to head on over. It's all back in stock.
And suddenly, now that you said that, Ronnie's having to put in another order.
I hope so, but I just wish I hadn't said it before I went and got some bits myself. Actually, also then they're also releasing another expansion, and this is Warlord of Galahir. Warlord of Galahir, Ben.
Yes, it's the Warlord of Galahir, and this is your heroes heading out into a different area called Penscar, where you've got to go and save merchants, recover treasure, and basically defend the town against this orc warlord called Thundrak, who has raised up all the greenskins to fight and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But some really cool stuff that comes with this is you get 2 new heroes. So there's my favorite of the whole Dungeon Saga range, even better than the dwarf. This is Topoka, who's the Gladewalker druid, and they also have Hrath, who is the salamander from the forces of nature. Very, very cool. Yeah.
Now you also get them in their ordinary form and in their legendary heroes form, Ben. Yeah.
Yes, so you can buy a separate pack that comes with them as their legendary version. So they're a bit more beefy. They've got magical weapons and they look a bit more awesome. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, tell us a bit more before we move on to that Orc Warlord. Tell us a bit more about that guy. Is he a tree man, Ben?
Yeah, so he's from the Forces of Nature, and they're called like the Shamblers and things like that. And so the guys at Mantic have done some fantastic stuff with the whole tree man style thing over the past. And I think this is the really cool personification of it as in druid form. I think it's really nice to see one with a lot of more character to it, because obviously they've done ones in the past that are very much, this is definitely a tree that is walking.
Yeah.
Whereas the other ones, this one has got like the robes on. You can see a bit more of the face to him. Mm-hmm. He's got a bit of the Groot about him as well, which is really cool. Yeah, so really fantastic.
Mm-hmm. You're quite a fan of the tree men in the Kings of War range, yeah?
Yeah. I think if I was going to be diving into sort of Kings of War, I might try dwarves, but I'm not such a fan of their models. Sorry to say, but I think from the Forces of Nature side of things, I would go with a full tree man army because I love the idea of just this huge walking wood.
That's going to be expensive, Ben, because I actually have a Forces of Nature army at home.
Yeah.
And in the starter set, you get a set of 3 tree men.
Yes.
That's a regiment.
Yes.
For a horde, you need 6.
Yes.
So points-wise, in the actual game, they are quite hefty, Ben. So you're not going to have a lot of these on the table.
No. Completely wrong.
Right.
Completely wrong.
Right.
Ben can do it completely free of charge. It's easy. You just go down to your local wood or forest.
Oh, yeah.
And you just crack off a little branches
I'm
in
not
the
talking
shape of
money.
little... What? Oh, you're talking points.
Points.
Oh, points. Right.
Sorry if I confused
Right.
everybody.
Oh, you confused me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, everybody out there, I meant points.
Right,
These guys are
okay.
quite hefty points-wise in the game. So you'll not have a lot of these on the table. So you could end up with a bit of a glass cannon army.
I'm sure it'll be fine. I just want to see trees. I want to paint some trees and things like that.
Fair enough.
Anyway, I still think you should head down to your local forest and just break off all the little twigs that are in the shape of a man, okay? And then you can add some little bits to it. And
is this your Gaming in the Gaps coming back?
Yeah, I think it'd be great. Yeah, I think it'd be great. You know, it's or if you really wanted to go to town, okay? You can you create little flower pots, okay, and plant little trees, and have them grow. So as you grow in your gaming and your hobby grows, you're
going to try and do a
ridiculous.
Are you going to try and do a seedling army? What the hell?
It's the whole seedling army.
You've got to keep them watered throughout the game as well.
Yes, so you will keep them watered with the tears of your opponent. Right. Now we have a piece of news. I am really interested in this one, okay? So this is a new expansion for D&D. It's called Storm King's Thunder. Ben, what can you tell us about this?
Yeah, sure. So this was all came out in a big live stream they did over the weekend that's just gone. And this one is all about a new adventure where you are playing the Defenders of Faerun, which is in the Forgotten Realms, trying to take on an army of giants that for some reason has decided to come out of their little hovels and their homes and their mountains and under the sea as well to try and destroy the world. And you're not quite sure why. So yeah, this will be a really interesting sort of middling to high level adventure where you're taking on all different types of giant tribes, going to very exotic places that you've probably never even been in the D&D world, which were really cool. Yeah.
Now this is all about giant hunting then, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I thought, right, why don't we take a moment to learn a little bit about the D&D giants? Because you know, whenever Ben was first telling me about this story, I thought, oh, that'll be interesting. And then I never remembered, it didn't twig for me that there's actually lots of different types of giant. Mm-hmm. Yes. I love giants. I've got some great stuff to tell you about giants. But let's kick off, right? Okay. So the first giant on my list, Ben, is the fire giants. What about them in D&D?
Right, so these are the guys that live inside the volcanoes, down by lava streams under the ground and things like that. And their mantra is all about fighting. They love fighting, they love destroying, they love burning, plundering, and just laying waste to everything, basically. Yeah, so these guys are the warriors, the martial might, everything about sort of battle and everything is what they thrive on. And of course, they come with the big flaming red hair, which is fantastic. So, yeah.
now, are they bigger or smaller than you? Because even within giants, there's classifications of the sizes of the giants.
Yeah, these guys sit sort of around in sort of like the mid-range of giants.
Yeah.
They're not the smallest, but they're not the biggest either. But we'll get to those later.
But are they the meanest?
They are possibly the meanest, yes. They will fight you just because you looked at them funny, yeah.
Right, next up we have stone giants, okay?
Yeah.
So, Justin, get us a picture of them. Ben, what about these guys?
Okay, so these guys are a little bit different, very different, in fact, from the fire giants. They're a lot more reclusive, they're quiet and very peaceful, as long as you don't mess with them.
This guy does not look peaceful.
Yeah, they're peaceful, yeah.
Peaceful with a massive
Are they made of stone?
They're not made of stone, no, but they have very sallow skin that makes them look like they're made of stone, which is the interesting part about them. And these guys thrive on creating artwork and paintings and interesting cultural pieces. So these guys would be the ones that would decorate cave walls and create fantastic stone sculptures and things like that. So yeah, they're a very, very different type of giant, and it'd be something very interesting to meet when you were role-playing, to just bump into stone giants. Yeah, it'd be really cool.
Actually, that does sound really interesting.
Yeah,
and
cool.
where do they lie on the scale of giants?
I think they're slightly taller than fire giants, so they're around the sort of like middling range again, but they're a bit taller.
Yeah,
they're a bit lankier, these guys, than the fire giants. Yeah.
Okay, next up we have Justin's favorite, and these are the hill giants.
Yeah, so these guys are the selfish, dim-witted brutes. These guys would be the ones that sort of basically just pick up a tree and use that to smash things because that's the nearest thing. They were the ones that destroy farms, raid livestock, basically the ones that you'd hear about in all the fairy tales a little bit, sort of the ones that would be sort of scratching their nose and picking their bum and sort of bumbling around inside the woods and down into towns and things like that. Yeah.
What separates these guys from trolls?
The trolls have regenerative sort of magics about them.
Yeah.
So trolls can bring that, like, grow back limbs and things like that. Giants can't do that.
Right, quick question. The hill giants, are they the mammoth herders?
If there was ever going to be a giant mammoth herder, they would be the ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hill giants are bound to be pretty big, though, yeah?
Yeah, they're very big, but these are the smallest of the giants in actual fact. So these would be the ones that are sort of maybe around sort of 10 to 15 foot tall in terms of giants, but they're not massive, these guys.
Ah, okay. Right, next up we have the frost giants.
Yeah, so the frost giants are effectively, if you took Vikings and mixed them with very big men, that's what a frost giant is, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so these guys are raiders that go around in huge ships. They will plunder the coasts and things like that. They wear their trophies on their bodies, so they've got huge skulls of monsters they've killed from the sea and things like that. And they raid, pillage, destroy, burn, and everything. But importantly, they live off in the frosty lands of the north, whereas the fire giants live down underneath the mountains by the lava.
And do the giants go to war? Like,
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes,
so
giants will go to war and they will fight over specific land masses and things like that.
Would I be allowed to roleplay as a frost giant?
Now, you wouldn't be allowed to roleplay as a frost giant, but you could always roleplay as a Goliath. And Goliaths in D&D, which haven't quite made their way into 5th edition proper, but there are some rules out there, they're half giants. So Goliaths are these guys that are basically born of the stone and they have giant blood in their veins and things like that. So you could play Goliath.
that's kind of interesting because you can role play as kind of a, what do they call, Dragonborn?
Dragonborn.
Yeah, so you can kind of role play as a half dragon. So
Yeah.
this way you could role play as a half giant,
You see,
which would be kind of cool.
that kind of makes sense to me because if you were role-playing as a frost giant, you would be nigh unstoppable because you're a big giant. You could just stomp on all the kobolds you're having to deal with.
Yeah, and you probably wouldn't fit in many dungeons.
No,
What's you know, I would imagine that frost giants are pretty big, yeah? What, on the scale of things, where do they lie?
Frost giants are probably the third biggest of the giants. We'll get to the top two in a second, but yeah, these guys are very big, very nasty. Yeah.
Okay, right. Next up is my favorite kind of giant because I always kind of imagined them as the beanstalk giant, and that's the cloud giants, or as I'd called them, sky giants.
Yeah, so cloud giants are very much within the same sort of vein, a little bit as the stone giants, and they're relatively peaceful, and they consider themselves effectively higher than most other beings, and even within their own sort of giant culture, they consider themselves the best, effectively. And they love treasure and gold and gifts, and all of their culture is around sort of the giving of gifts and the receiving of it, and having the most amazing hoard of gold at their disposal and things like that.
Okay.
So yes, they would effectively be a little bit like the whole Jack in the Beanstalk thing, going up there to find the treasure, the golden egg type deal. Yeah.
Now,
That's quite
if
cool.
I was RPing around giants,
Right.
they would be the ones that we would do it on, right? Because I can imagine us building some kind of a sky ship, right?
Right.
Where we'd create hot air balloons from the bladders, the inflated bladders of dragons, right?
Okay.
So we'd have to go dragon hunting first,
Right.
slay a few dragons, get their bladders, and then fill them full of hot air, which I have ample amounts of. We'd fill them full of hot air, and we'd create a dragon air balloon to take us up into the realms of the cloud giants, where we would go proper treasure hunting in among the clouds.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be very cool.
We would disguise you as a cherub.
No,
You would be a perfect little cherub.
I don't want to even imagine how you would have to rig that up with me hanging off the front of this airship, little bow and arrow going, guys, can I come down now? It's a bit nippy.
No, it's easy. So all you have to do is we'll have you kind of suspended on a fishing rod out the front of the airship, right? In your little nappy, right? Your
I'll
little
send the wires hooked to
right?
the nappy just to give me a wedgie.
Just looking around, and we'd every now and again we'd hit you a tap to remind you to go, love you, love you, and that would be it. You just shout love you, and then we'd be perfectly disguised as a flying cherub, because there's got to be loads of them up there. So
if I'm doing that, I'm playing a dwarf. Simply because it would be hilarious.
no, you
Dwarf cherub.
You just play as you.
No.
You're the mammoth herder cherub. So
suddenly I have a new skill set.
anyway, cloud giants would be amazingly cool for an RP story. I think it could be brilliant. However, I suspect Ben has left the most fearsome to the last. Would I be right in this?
Yeah, so these guys are the storm giants, and the storm giants, the cloud giants remove themselves effectively a lot from other giant societies, considering themselves the best. The storm giants do it because they are literally the best and the biggest and the meanest giants around. They keep themselves at the top of mountains and even at the bottoms of the ocean in sort of huge undersea fortresses and things like that. And they will only look to they look to the future, and they see ahead what is going to happen to the world, and their whole mantra around them is that they will only come out when they definitely need to be there. So these guys, when you do see them, you will want to run as fast as possible, because they will destroy everything in their path, these guys.
Is there any interesting stories or tales around the storm giants that you know of, or?
Well, there's one interesting one. It was actually shown up in a lot of the artwork that's coming out in this book, actually, for Storm King's Thunder. And it's from the perspective of one of the bards who's taking a ship across the sea. And for some reason, the sea starts to get suddenly very frothy and stormy all over the place. And they start to see this huge sort of like fin effectively popping out of the water and surrounding them. And then eventually they realize that actually beneath the sea is a massive storm giant who is following them and watching what they're doing, because they've strayed into their territory. And needless to say, it doesn't go well for these guys. But yeah, they're very, very cool. Yeah.
Well, the moral to that story is never take a ship in the frothy sea. So
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I think that giants, I don't know like how often you guys use giants in your role playing. The thing about giants in role playing is if for a lot of us it's very easy to get sucked into the whole dungeon thing of a role play. And the problem with the dungeon is you don't meet the biggest creatures often in a dungeon.
Spiders, kobolds,
you can meet dragons and things like that, but you're unlikely to meet any of the enormous dragons and things like that in a dungeon. Unless you come into some huge cavern or whatever. But
or you're just about to exit the dungeon and it's just about to leave.
But I wonder how much crack there is to be had in the journey to the dungeon, right? Yeah. And this is one of the things that we miss out on in board gaming specifically, as opposed to the role playing, and why I want to do more role playing maybe this next while. Yeah, is that you could have an adventure down a dungeon on the board game, right?
But you're already in the dungeon.
But if you were role playing it, you could have already had an amazing, huge adventure just on the way to the dungeon. Like for example, the whole talk of the going across the ocean and some underwater storm giant, right? And then you have to cross a mountain range where you meet a giant. There's so much opportunity. Like, is there any specific tips for dealing with giants? Like, I would imagine they're nigh impossible to kill. Like, would you try to kill a giant? Would it even be something that you would try to do? Or
Depends on your group, really.
Yeah. One of the big things about sort of the way they've done giants is it's a little bit in the same way as the way they've done dragons, effectively, in that dragons can be reasoned with if you try your hardest to get around to it. And the same thing can happen with giants as well, because as we've talked about, not all of them are out there to kill you. I mean, obviously, if you walked into a fire giant lair, they're probably going to try and smash you to pieces.
Yeah.
But if you're wandering through a valley and you happened upon a stone giant settlement, you might have a fantastic couple of sessions where it's all about talking with the stone giants and working out why their tribes come down from the mountains, what's happening with the giants in terms of like the wider conflict. Maybe they can help you in some way.
Yeah.
And you investigate the landscape of the giants, and you impress that sense of wonder about why you're there, because giants don't just set up in any old place. They set up in a place that is made for them, effectively. So maybe the trees are that little bit taller. The doors to huge mountain underground caves are a bit bigger. That kind of thing. You know, huge like villages and things like that, where they have their massive, huge wooden houses and things, maybe in at the bottom of a mountain, and you stepping inside these places and being dwarfed by it and having to try and deal with the situation of, so how do I actually walk around in a giant's world, which is probably how a kobold feels when he walks into a human's world, kind of thing. But
yeah. So basically, don't order a giant's pint.
No, because you'll probably drown in it.
But it's little bits and pieces like that you just won't get in a board game.
Oh yeah.
You will not get that level of experience in any board game, because no board game can accommodate that.
Yeah.
Whereas an actual pen and paper RP session will opens up all of that. And I just love it, because there's so much there that Ben talked about that that typically doesn't even occur to me if we were going to be playing a game. The likes of, giants are only there for a reason. They're not there by accident. There's a reason they're there. So explore those reasons. What's it like trying to walk around a giant's world? How do you get through a door that's a giant door? It's like,
exactly,
can you crawl under it? How do you eat? What do you eat? Yeah. In a giant's world, are the other creatures giants? Are the rats giants? Are the cats giants? It's like there's so much that's of interest that I would really like to explore it. I have a thing for giants, right? Because
you have a thing for giants.
I have a thing for giants.
Okay.
I think giants are fascinating because there's some fabulous cookie conspiracy theories about giants.
Cookie conspiracy?
Yeah. So this goes way back, right? In your biblical texts, right? Basically, there was humanity on the earth.
Yes.
Okay. At some point, Satan and his followers were cast down to earth.
Yes.
Okay, and they were called the Nephilim. Okay, were they called the Nephilim? I think they were called the Nephilim.
If you've played D&D, not D&D. If you played Diablo, that's what they're called, the Fallen Angels. So yeah.
And what happened was that they quite fancied the Earth females. Okay.
Right.
Which is no bad thing, because we quite fancied the Earth females ourselves. As females in the galaxy go, I quite consider the Earth females probably the best. Okay.
I'll give you a statement of purest fact.
Okay.
I have never seen a female from not of this earth that was more attractive than one of this earth.
You see, every Earth female is the most attractive in the galaxy.
Yes.
There. Isn't that lovely? Right. Back to my story. So the Nephilim then bred with the Earth females. Okay. And the offspring of that were apparently giants.
Okay.
And Goliath and stuff were the last of the lineage of this. So there's two interesting things in human history that keep reappearing. Okay, first is the flood myth. Okay, I grew up learning about Noah's Ark and learning about a flood. What I didn't realize was there's about 300 disparate flood myths from different ancient societies all around the world. Almost every ancient society has its own flood myth, okay? So as a teenager, when I spent my time going, oh, this flood thing is nonsense, how could this be possible, blah, blah, blah. Now as a 40-year-old man, having learned that actually they talk about it everywhere, this flood myth. Now, either it all comes from one source or something happened and they're all writing about it. Yeah. And there are similarities. But the other thing that just seems to crop up everywhere is tales of giants. Yeah. Okay? So, one of the great stories of giants was of giant tribes over in North America. And a lot of the North American native tribes talked about giants, and there was one particular group of giants that were cannibals, and they used to come down and eat people from the other tribes. Okay. So what they did was the tribes got together and chased them into a cave, a big cave system in a mountain, and then filled the front of the cave with wood, and then set fire to the cave and burnt them all alive inside the cave. Okay.
Okay, this is creepy.
And there's been talk of giant skeletons and things like that have been discovered and then have went missing.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing, right? Because it always comes down to the powers that be don't want us to know about the giants. What I can't work out is why. I just think it'd be cool. I can't think of anything in my mind that would make it worth the hassle of covering up giants. There might be something, I can't think of it. I just think it would be the coolest thing ever. But there's some great pictures on the internet of archaeologists digging up. Have you got some?
I think this is one you sent.
Right. Well, what do you see here? Now, where do you see this? I love this scale of giants. Okay. Here, right?
Which one's human?
The smallest one, I believe.
I wonder if I can make this bigger.
Is human.
No, I can't make this bigger.
Okay. So the smallest one is human, and then it goes up. Now look at the guy in the coffin, Justin. Look at the guy in the coffin. That looks like the mummified remains of one of those Native American giants I was talking about. Now scroll down, okay, and see if there's any other pictures of giants. There may not be. Keep going. There's nothing in there for reference of scale. There, look at that one. Do you see your man? The little guy?
Illuminati cover-up, giant human skeleton discovered.
Yes.
That looks Photoshopped to me.
And you want to know something? They absolutely are. Ooh! Yep. There was a great website. I can't remember the name of it. They used to run Photoshop competitions. Right. And one was to Photoshop up discovered giants. Right. And they did. And now every conspiracy site on the internet is punting them out there as the real thing. As
empirical truth, yeah.
So the thing about giants is, there's no evidence for it, but it is scientific fact.
Well, there are some people in today's society who suffer from gigantism. So yes, it is possible.
You get really big people. Yeah. You can get really big people. I just wonder if there was ever a race of really big people, because they've discovered the hobbits. Yeah. Okay, so the very small race of miniature people, and you had pygmies and stuff like that. So I wonder, in ancient times, might there have been, or is it just like Robert Waldo, who in the 20th century was just like the world's tallest man? I wonder, some thousands of years ago, he wouldn't have been considered the world's tallest man. He would have been considered a giant, the world's smallest giant. So possibly. It's I like it.
The major issue comes in whenever humans grow to a certain size, our actual physical structure can't maintain itself because of the way we're built. The actual forces of gravity actually begin to tear us apart.
Well, this is one of the things I've also been interested. I know I'm deviating.
It's fun. I'm enjoying it.
I know I'm deviating. But one of the things that I've often wondered about was, if if we evolved on a smaller planet,
Right.
okay, like Mars,
Okay.
would we be bigger or smaller? Because there's talk of there was talk of what do you call that planet? Nibiru or something like that, which is a massive planet that comes into contact with our own every 30,000 years or something like that. There, okay, and it's supposedly like the size of Neptune, an earthy planet the size of Neptune. And the bigger planet, then they said, there's giants that live on that. But I'm not sure that's the case. I'm not sure that what the physiology of this is, because I would imagine that you would grow bigger in a lower gravity environment than you would in a higher gravity environment.
There's less strain.
That's how it works. If the planet has lower gravity, then by science fiction and science fact working together, you would be taller and you would be potentially lankier and things like that. Maybe you'd still probably be in proportion if obviously your species was born on that planet. But if you are born on a low gravity world, you're tended to be squat and sort of, more dwarf-like, I guess, which is how that sort of came around with sort of space dwarves and all that kind of thing.
The other problem you have is, one of the other things is oxygen content. Higher oxygen content allows creatures to grow bigger, if I remember correctly.
That's true, because back in the either Jurassic or something like that, you had bugs that were this size. Dragonflies and stuff like this size. And the reason for that was of the high amount of oxygen that was.
Because their respiratory system is completely different from ours, because they don't have lungs, they actually have
feet. Feet.
Feet?
Yeah. They breathe through their feet or their ears or something like that.
I thought it was that there were specific channels within the body.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Anyway, So
see, I know science.
Here's the only logical explanation for it all. Okay, there were giants.
Possibly.
Okay, and they came from Mars.
No.
Why not?
Mars has no atmosphere to speak of. There has been no sign of life.
But it used to.
Used to being the operative word. How many millions of years ago?
Well, we don't know. It might have been 100 years ago.
Hardly.
Because there was a dude with a telescope who saw irrigation lines and stuff like that all over Mars.
Yeah, this is like the face of Mars, that whenever they actually went back years later with a better camera. Oh wait, no, that's not a face on Mars. That was just blur.
It was a mountain. Anyway, well, there's the giants. Right, so there is a new D&D live stream series, Ben, yeah? What can you tell us about it before we move on?
Yeah, sure. So the people that took part in the prologue, which you can watch on our website from that live event, are going to be doing a weekly series, which will be run by Matt Mercer, who does Critical Role, which is a fantastic role-playing show. So he's going to be doing this one alongside Wizards of the Coast to play out the story effectively of this new adventure book, and it should be really awesome.
Important question: are they getting Vin Diesel back?
No, they're not getting Vin Diesel back because unfortunately he's a Hollywood star who has actually no time to do anything, I think. But
and they probably don't have the $15 million budget that they need to pay him to do it. So it's right. We're going to take some swish for some hubs, okay? And then after the break, you're going to be talking to the guys from Nomad Games about Talisman Horus Heresy. And remember, we have a giveaway on that.
Enter into the dangerous dungeons of myth as a mighty hero and stand against the darkness. Visit the Myth Hub on beastsofwar.com and begin your story. From Viking halls to the cities of the future, terrain buffs will love our foreground hub. Watch gaming tables of all genres come to life at beastsofwar.com.
So, hi guys, as you can see, I'm joined by Andy Bates from Nomad Games, who is one of the guys who've created Talisman the Horus Heresy. Now, Andy, what exactly is this game that you've created here?
So, Talisman Horus Heresy is it's the basic Talisman game that we've taken and we've set it within the 40k universe of the Horus Heresy. So you're exploring the events of the Horus Heresy where Horus betrayed the Emperor and started this big, huge intergalactic war. And the idea with the Talisman Horus Heresy game is you're playing as one of the warlords or primarchs within the Horus Heresy, and you're trying to gather your legion together, get back to Terra, and kind of influence the final fight between Horus and the Emperor.
Okay, now I do understand this will run on a similar rule system to the original Talisman, but what are the major changes that you guys have made to actually really give this that nice 30k flavor to it?
Well, probably the main thing is rather than with the original Talisman, you were just playing as a single warrior traveling through a fantasy land, fighting against generic monsters like orcs or goblins or whatever. With Horus Heresy, what we've done is we've changed it so that you're actually fighting for one of the two different factions, either the loyalists or the traitors. So you're actually fighting as a team as well. So if you're playing a 4-player game, you can actually team up together. So you could fight as Robuti, Gilliman, and say Sigismund or Loken against say Angron and Fulgrim, for instance. And what that means is, rather than when you're encountering these different data slates, you're actually fighting against an enemy rather than just a generic monster. You see what I mean?
Yeah, so the data slates, I assume these are essentially what the monster cards are. So I assume with it being both loyalist and traitor within this game, if I'm, say, Robert Gulliman and I land into a sector and I've actually found, oh look, there's a unit of Ultramarines, I can maybe get those to join me. Whereas if I'm Angron...
That's the idea. You're trying to travel around the universe, gathering your legion together, and then as you're traveling around, obviously you're gonna encounter enemy legion units, which then you've got to fight against, and your opposing players trying to do the same thing. At the same time, you're also coming across other interesting places and other characters which are kind of involved within the Horus Heresy fluff. And again, you encounter them, or you gain equipment or data slates.
Yeah. Now, I actually did get a chance to play this because you guys very kindly sent through a code to me to actually let me jump on and have a play about with this. One of the key things that I really like about the way you guys have designed this game is that you can actually do a local multiplayer. Say you're on a laptop or something, and you can just pass it back and forth to each other to actually play the game. Now, I had it on Steam, but I believe you have it on the other platforms as well. So I think it's Android and iOS you have it on.
Yes, we just released it on iOS a couple of weeks ago. And yes, it is on Android as well. And the nice thing about that as well is if you have a copy of the game on Steam, then it's got cross-platform play with Android and iOS as well. So if you've got a friend who's got a Steam account and you've also got it on your iOS, then you can play against each other as well.
No, that's a really, really nice feature because it really lets people say, okay, it's not that moment of, okay, I'm on this platform, oh, we can't play together. So it's a really nice touch to have that. But I also believe you guys have an expansion coming out very soon. So which part of the Horus Heresy are you guys going to be having a look at this time?
Well, the first we plan to do 4 expansions in all for the Horus Heresy. The first one we're going to look at is we're going to concentrate on the Isfan system, so the very, very beginning of the Horus Heresy and how that actually happens. So what will happen is in the top left corner of the board at the moment, you'll be able to zoom into that actual area and fight across the Isfan 3 and Isfan 5, and obviously the key kind of moments of battle that happen there. So when Horus first betrayed the Emperor and massacred his own troops, and then later on when Ferrus Manus and the other loyalist legions came to Isfan 3 to kind of try and destroy him. There was the whole battles on there. So the idea is you travel through that whole system as like a mini campaign as a part of the main game, and from that you get spat back out the other side and and then carry on with the rest of the Horus Heresy campaign.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm actually guessing that the reason you've kind of picked the Horus Heresy is just because it is such a rich background for you guys to have a play about, and the Talisman rule set, I'm guessing that's, for you, well, for most people, Talisman is one of those old games. So I have to ask, are you also a tabletop wargamer?
Oh yes, very much so. I mean, what happened was when we originally finished Talisman Digital Edition, Games Workshop approached us and asked whether we would be interested in doing a Horus Heresy version. At which point I just jumped on that because I'm a massive Warhammer 40,000 fan. I have been since the very first edition back in 1987. So it was kind of a real fortunate joining, really, because I already play a lot of Warhammer for 30,000. I've got all of the big huge black books, and I've got about 2 or 3 Horus Heresy armies as well. So it was just I just jumped at the chance when they said, "Do you want to do this?" And I was like, "Right, yes, definitely." So it was really good fun for me. It was a nice fun project for me to work on the last 2 years. To just get really stuck into the fluff of the Horus Heresy and translate that onto the Talisman game engine.
Now, you said we're going to have the Istvan campaign coming out. Do you know what the others are yet, or are we going to have to wait to find out?
Right. So the plan is, I kind of planned this out when I was designing the original game. That there's a number of key events within the Horus Heresy. So to start off with, you've got the Istvan campaign, which in the top left hand, we've got put that in the top left hand corner. Then obviously there is the whole of the battle for Calth and the Silent War, where the word bearers go and decimate the Ultramarines. That's probably the second one that we're going to do, and that's what I'm going to start working on straight after we get the Istvan campaign released. Then there's Cygnus Prime, where the Blood Angels battle against demons in that sector. And then finally, we're going to do Prospero, which is obviously.
Yeah, that's the one I was really hoping for, because I love the idea of the Space Wolves actually being tricked by Horus and sent in to actually deal with the Thousand Suns, which actually turns them to chaos.
Yeah.
It was one of those nice little twists.
I think we might do that. We might do that one after Calth. It all really depends on what's happening with Forge World, because what we do is we follow what Forge World, we follow with our little game what Forge World are doing with, where they're expanding the fluff from the 30k point of view. So I imagine we will do Calth and the Silent War first, and then after that we'll probably get straight onto Prospero.
Well, I mean, like, guys, I have to say, for me, I've always loved the Horus Heresy background. It's always been some of the best fluff from 40k for me, just because it's exploring whenever the Imperium was advancing and always on the grow, and then that final twist of Horus turning against the Emperor. So this game actually harks back to me going, I love this time in the fluff, So I think it's definitely something for people to keep an eye on.
It's a nice little game for people who maybe aren't as familiar with the fluff as well. It's a good starting point, because you can kind of play this game and read the little bits of information and get a good general overview of what the Horus Heresy is about and learn about the different characters. So it's a nice little, if you're interested in 30k but are a bit daunted by all of this vast history that's got, it's a nice little entry point into it for you to kind of learn a little bit about the Horus Heresy fluff as well.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that you guys have actually managed to a bit of a coup and get all of the amazing artwork just wedged into this game left, right, and center. Because when I sat down to play, it was just me going, "Oh my god, it's pretty! All the art."
Yeah, big thanks to Neil Roberts there for all of the artwork that he supplied to the Black Library. I mean, that was a great help, to be honest. It's like Games Workshop said, "Here you go. Here's all of Neil Roberts' artwork for the last 10 years." Well, that's I mean, there's some behind me there that we've kind of modified and used it. Yeah, and it's just been a real pleasure to work on. It's been great fun.
Well, guys, it's definitely going to be one to keep an eye on. The game it's out there, and it's apparently well on its way to growing bigger. I would like to say thank you because you guys have actually provided us with 4 Steam Code copies of the game. So, guys, you can win 1 copy of Talisman, the Horus Heresy by commenting on this video on Facebook, YouTube, or beastofwar.com. So I think we'll call it at that. We'll take a quick hub break here, and we'll see you in a minute.
Progress comes to a world of magic as science and the arcane combine to make marvels. Meet steampunk inventors and orc mystics at the Wolsung Hub on beastofwar.com. Keep your blaster handy, the West is a dangerous place. Fight to survive as men turn to monsters and the dead rise on the Wild West Exodus Hub at beastofwar.com.
Right. Before you guys take me headlong into this week's Kickstarter, okay, there is something I want to very briefly touch on. It's a cool thing that started up in the community over the last couple of weeks, and it's on Sundays, and it's a kind of like on a Sunday morning,
right.
A couple of the guys kick off what's almost like a Sunday politics show in the forums, okay?
Okay.
So it's a discussion on a meteor topic, okay? So
I take meteor to mean weightier?
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing about this is, right, is it's very easy on the internet to have the whole nerd rage keyboard warrior kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And typically we don't have it here on the Beast of War community. There's a lot of wiser, more level-headed heads, okay?
Yes.
So the thing about it is, what do you do as a community? Do you avoid the meteor, sometimes the more controversial topics completely? Or do you say, right, well, what we're going to do is if we're going to discuss them, we're going to discuss them in a short, sharp, kind of controlled environment, okay?
I can see this working.
So the whole idea, as I gather from this kind of this Sunday politics on Beasts of War, is that every Sunday morning from about 10 a.m. there's going to be a topic, a meteor topic,
right,
for us to discuss. The rules are, no nerd rage, keep it calm and expect to be disagreed with, okay? Because it's not about being right, it's about exploring the topic.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who's right. It's about the exploration of the topic.
Right. So basically, we're saying don't let this conversation devolve. Keep thinking when you're typing.
Yeah. The key phrase here is, if you're feeling the pangs of anger, take a deep breath and go and get a cup of tea. Okay? Because it's not there for that. It's there to explore it. Because the one thing that I have learned is nobody is right on the internet. It just doesn't happen anymore. There's just so much opinion piling on and stuff like that. So you may as well give up on the whole prospect of trying to win and just take it for what it is, an opportunity to explore and to see what other people think on stuff and to state, I think it may be this instead or that, all right? Yeah. So it's an opportunity. We're gonna watch it, see how it goes. I'm keeping an eye on it. I think the guys are thinking about running it quite sharp between 10 a.m. on a Sunday, 10 p.m. on a Monday.
Right.
They might extend that because I'm thinking it might be a little bit tight because some people don't get to visit every day.
Yeah.
So
and then you have the time zone issues. So if you're starting at 10 a.m. here, ending 10 a.m. here, that start and stop time can really shift all the way around the world.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not unreasonable. It's not unreasonable, but I'm sure they're open to whatever works at the end of the day. The topic for last week was an interesting one. It was about miniature painting and miniature sculpting. Is it art? Why I quite like this as a topic is any one of us knows that there's no answer to that. There is no correct answer to that because is it art is one of the most subjective questions that you could possibly ask.
Well,
and I really like that, and it give people the opportunity to discuss it. Like some of the points that came up. Well, Ben, you tell us some of the points that came up.
Yeah, so they were basically looking into a lot of stuff to do with exploring a little bit more about sort of, is it art? Is it fine art? What are the definitions of fine art? Can we apply it to what we do? It sort of also branched into the whole aspect of, is it considered art when someone does it with physical sort of components, sculpting by hand, or does it lose its artistic value when someone does it using rendering and things like that and 3D modeling and stuff? And it's been a really interesting discussion where they've gone down some interesting rabbit holes in terms of discussion topics and arguments for and against and things. And as you say, I don't think there is actually any real proper answer to it, but it was really interesting to read through and see what they were saying about it.
For me, the thing about art is anything that has been designed to try and trigger an emotion of some sort.
Yeah.
If I suppose if you could equally turn and say everything is art, but then that's a cop out as well. You need to be able to try and define it in some way. So if it succeeds in triggering that emotion or an emotion, then perhaps that would be art. The interesting thing was about fine art. Somebody said, well, would miniature painting and miniature sculpting be in the fine art? And then I started to think back. I don't think it fits the definition of fine art. So, fine art is developed primarily for aesthetics or beauty, which on the surface,
I could see that for some people.
You would look at the stuff within our industry and go, yeah, it's fine art. But however, the other end of that is applied art, okay? And applied art also has to serve some practical function. And I have rarely seen a miniature or a model or something that has been either sculpted or painted that hasn't had functionality to it as well, in terms of it needs to be able to be handled, it needs to be able to move around, it needs to be. There is a lot of functional elements to it. Even in a paint scheme, if I paint a model, the chances are I'm painting it
to represent something.
To represent an army or something. Yeah. There is a function element there as well. So it was an interesting toss-up between the fine art and the applied art for me.
But you have the collector's pieces that some people do, which are just simply designed. This is a piece of beautiful sculpture I've done. Please paint this up so that it will be beautiful and sit on your shelf.
Yeah, but then is it the function not that it was designed to be paintable?
True, but
in other words, it's not finished yet.
Why could it not be both?
Yeah, but it was designed to be a product as opposed to a one-off piece of sculpture that was designed to be a sculpture. It was designed, and that is it now finished, and its purpose is to sit there and be a piece of art. Whereas this has been designed to be reproducible and then finished by the end person should they desire to do it. So there's a lot more functionality hidden in there than what you might expect.
True, but what I'm saying is, why can it not be both? The thing is designed beauty for beauty's sake. Yes, it has a purpose.
The reason it can't be both is because applied art contains fine art. Applied art is fine art plus a bit. Okay. So it's not saying that one is better than the other. It's just saying it's like a scale in my mind anyway. Up to this point, it's fine art, but if there's a functional aspect to it, it then goes into applied art.
Okay, here's the one for you then. The Perry twins. They are commissioned by, what's the fella? They do sculptures particularly for?
Peter Jackson?
Peter
Jackson. They are commissioned by him to do single one-off pieces. Does that mean that those single one-off pieces that then go to him are fine art?
Again, I would maybe argue that they're applied art because they don't paint them for him. He then goes on and paints them himself. So they're designed with him doing what he wants to do with it in mind.
It would be closer on your scale to fine art then because of that, because it's not taking that reproducible aspect to it because it is a one-off.
But is it a case of the moment it has any practical function applied to it, it is just applied art at that point?
Maybe. So,
I say just. I don't mean just anything, but it's...
So hang on. By your reckoning, the armies which I have, which are built, not painted, are fine art because I've done nothing else with them.
No. Because the intention of them was to be built and painted, they're therefore applied art rather than fine art.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm starting to scratch my head at this one.
You're trying to find a route in it.
I am.
But I don't know, maybe
this is the way you want it to be done in the forums, the way we're having this discussion.
Maybe my definition of it is inaccurate in all of this, and that's the purpose for me anyway, and why I'm enjoying seeing the Sunday politics threads opening up, is because you get the opportunity to learn a lot from others, on these topics, where you can say, well, actually, I had never considered that perspective before.
Yeah, well, up until this point, Warren, you have now educated me on something.
Wait, no.
I never knew what fine art was by your definition until now.
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, there's something at least.
There's the key words, by your definition.
Yes, and to be honest, I had never had a definition of it until that thread fired up.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some interesting directions that thread is going to go. So if you're a hothead and you have no ability to see sense in something like that, there, probably not the thread for you. Okay. If you're someone who just enjoys looking at the deeper aspects of what this industry might have within it, certainly worth taking a look. Whoever's in there, play nice, because it's not about winning the internet. It's just about exploring the topic. Okay?
I like the idea.
Right. We have a Kickstarter. We have a single Kickstarter. It's an obvious one, but we have to talk about it. Massive Darkness
Ta-da!
is massive on Kickstarter.
Holy hell! Do I know the funny thing? As I clicked onto this page,
Yep.
I saw that tick over 1 million. As I went onto that page, it ticked over 1 million.
Just there now.
Just as I clicked.
Yeah, well, obviously, by the time you're looking at this, it'll be well above that as well.
Way past that, yeah.
Okay, Ben, fill us in on Massive Darkness. What is happening?
Yeah, sure. So this is Call Mini or Not, sorry. It's a new take on a dungeon crawler, and this one goes down the same vein as a lot of other ones that have been going right now, and it has no dungeon or game master. It plays from between 1 to 6 players, so you can play it solo and with a massive group of people as well, which is pretty cool. And you'll all be taking on the mantle of a whole bunch of really classic-looking fantasy heroes. So you've got the barbarian, the wizard, the ranger, and the rogue, and you will be finding your way through dungeons and things like that, fighting monsters, and when you level up, you go down different skill branches, which is really cool for this. Actually,
so is there kind of like a tech tree, Ben, in this one then?
Yeah. So the way that the leveling up works is that you can go down different routes applied from ones before it and things like that, which means that when one person plays a barbarian one way, another player might take the barbarian in a very different way instead. So yeah, there's some really interesting plans going forward for the way that heroes develop in this one.
Yeah, now I'm seeing a very cool dashboard design here. So Warren,
Yes.
you remember whenever we got the Zombicide Black Plague in?
Yes.
It came with those new dashboards. We're seeing something similar here. I'm guessing this is how you're going to keep track of everything that's happening to your character. So that's very, very cool. I like that idea.
Now, I really like the sculpts and the art direction of the sculpts in this, and that there was at least in the renders, there was almost
roughness.
like there was a roughness to them. Like, check these out. It's I just think that they're just astonishingly good miniatures. It's
They are fantastic. Yeah.
They have a real flavor to them, is the way I would describe it.
Yeah. What about stretch goals wise, Ben? What all has been cropping up?
Yeah, sure. So they've obviously, as you can see, blasted through a lot of their stretch goals. So they've unlocked new monsters, new hero types, and some massive big beasties as well. One of the big things in the game is the way that the monsters work, and one of the types is the roaming monsters. And these are huge miniatures that spawn, and they are way above the level of the heroes.
Yeah.
But they will wander around inside the dungeons, and if you bump into them, they'll get you, and they will probably destroy you.
Yeah, we're
so
just
you'll probably try and
looking-
avoid them.
We're
Yeah.
just looking at the Cyclops. If you scroll down a little bit
Breaker,
there,
Cyclops. Good
it's
Lord.
just unbelievable.
Yeah,
What
this
a-
actually brings me on. Sorry, this actually brings me on to an interesting point about the game, in that the way that they manage the fact that these monsters will probably kill you quite a lot of the time is this thing called the shadow, and when you're in the shadow, monsters won't attack you if they can't see you or unless they bump into you, for example. So you can hide and set up ambushes within the shadow to kill monsters when you've got the best setup for them and things like that. And when monsters actually attack, they go after the hero with the most experience. So it's all about trying to work the game into the right way so that you can get that one monster to come down the passageway to fight your like bright shining paladin, only to be jobbed by the barbarian and the rogue who sort of club it from the shadows from behind, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
There's
pretty
one
cool.
for you, Warren, at 510k.
Yeah, the cockatrix. Well, but that's an amazing looking creature. It's
Yeah.
I am loving the art direction on this. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
It's one of the things that they've really sort of gone full bore into with this, and that they've taken the art style that they've used for games in the past, like Zombicide, and just ramped it up to a whole new level, and
brilliant.
made sure that all the artwork translates almost mirror to the miniatures themselves, especially when you look at some of the characters and things like that.
Well, look at that Weird Tiger, right?
Yeah.
Kickstarter exclusive. It's like, oh, I just absolutely want to have that. Like, I really like the look of the werewolf further on up, but the Weird Tiger's just great. So it's and you have the flesh golem pillars. Now that's good. We're starting to see the 2.5D dungeon type,
which is very
creep up.
important for dungeon crawlers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, what an amazing looking game that they've put together. Right, Justin, that's our lot for this morning. Tomorrow we have an interesting discussion. We're going to be talking a bit around how do I explain this?
It's going to be like one of those Sunday topics.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting Sunday topic. We're going to be talking in and around the likes of a copyright infringement and things like creating unique IP and where's the line?
Yes.
Where's the line at? And it's
Well, I mean, we have some things. Well, this is sort of having a little bit of a discussion, but we have some things like you'll see TV characters and stuff that'll turn up as miniature.
And we're going to talk about it all tomorrow.
Exactly.
We're going to talk about it all tomorrow. So yeah, that's your lot from me. Yeah, you can actually finish the show rather than just wave at everybody.
All right, I thought you were happy enough to end it at that, going, that's all from me, fade to black.
Yeah, it's not all about me. I was just letting you know I'm done.
Well, guys, tomorrow morning we have the XLDS across on beastsofwar.com. We have a 7-day free trial up and running. It's an entirely new show for your weekend, so if you want to come and join myself, Warren and Ben on a Sunday to hear more chat about the world of wargaming, we'll see you there.
And we'll maybe try and get John on as well, will we?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Bye.
Flames of War brings you the battles of World War II in epic 15mm scale. Go to the hub on beastsofwar.com to find news, tactics, and tutorials about the game. Humanity has been driven from Earth, but now it's time to take it back. Join the Reconquest and fight the Scourge on the Drop Zone Commander Hub at beastsofwar.com.